Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
We are back, and today we're going to talk about 10 simple steps to get really, really great at pricing property, which is going to be incredibly important in a market like this. Now, I want to start out by giving all of you, hopefully, a little bit of clarity about what's going on in real estate, in the real estate markets, without getting into the weeds about macroeconomic cycles and inflationary this and the others, and all the stuff that you guys can, get plenty of information from armchair economists at every turn of the road, really. I've noticed on YouTube, all these guys that were talking about crypto are now trying to fancy themselves as economists, which is kind of entertaining. But that aside, and none of it really matters at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, you are a real estate professional and your job is to help other people buy or sell real estate. That is all that matters. And you can make money, unlike other businesses, guys. Unlike other industries, you can make money no matter what direction interest rates are going, no matter what direction the political winds are blowing. It does not matter. You, as long as you have the skill sets necessary, and as long as you have the skill sets that people are willing to pay for, you will do incredibly well because of this market. And during this transitionary time, and we've been hopefully mentally and emotionally preparing you for this for about 2 years, because Julie and I definitely have been predicting this would happen. During this transitionary time where the rest of the world wakes up to the fact that this inflationary situation is going to expand, it's not going to retract, it's going to get worse, it's not going to get better. These are all things that you just live with the fact that what I just said is true. And frankly, the reason you want to think like that isn't because I want you to be a pessimist. It's because I want you to over-prepare. You can hope for the best, but you better over-prepare for the worst, because what's going to be happening over the next 6 to 12 months, really, realistically, the next few years is going to be something that's never happened before. And again, I'm going to tether myself to today's topic, and I won't go on too much of a soapbox here. But the reality of it is, the last time the country saw anything like this was back in 1971. Most of you, I dare I say, weren't even born. Julie was just born. Julie was barely born. And that time around, it lasted until 1981, 10 years. And what did it take ultimately? It took the interest rates being the same rate as what the inflation rate was. Just to put that in perspective, mortgage interest rates at their peak were close to 20%. On our Instagram, Tim and Julie Harris, I put up an ad, and some of you guys have seen it. I think it shocked a lot of you. And it was from I think it was from 1984 or 85. And it was an ad bragging about incredible mortgage refinance rates. Are you ready for it, listeners? 15%. It was 14.89%. And this ad was so excited because it was you were finally able to get out of your 20% mortgage. Woo, time to celebrate. Why am I telling you all that? Because we have a long way to go during this inflationary time. And all of you are going to have to mentally and emotionally prepare yourself. But really what matters now is you mentally and emotionally prepare yourself as fast as possible so you can financially prepare yourself. That is what we're all about. That is what this podcast is all about. And that is what you're all about. Because here's the thing, the magical thing about a market like this, when you're in real estate, and by the way, it's true with any market, is you will make money helping people no matter what direction the market's going. We are in a really interesting business if you think about this. How many other industries are there out there? Think of one. I can think of maybe a few, right? Where your services are needed no matter what direction the economy is going, no matter what interest rates are going, no matter who's in the political this or the other things, no matter what's going on in the world. It's not a voluntary it's a voluntary purchase, but it's not something that people, generally speaking, will put off because the costs of rents are increasing. If the costs of rents are increasing and outpacing what the cost of a home would cost, even if interest rates are higher, people are going to buy. And there's just so many, we can talk about demographics and all the rest of it. But guys, listen, we are in what probably will be a very long-term economic cycle that none of us in our adult lives, I'm sure there's some that are older than Julie and hopefully there's a lot of you, that you can have vague memories of when you were a kid. If you were in your 70s, you may have been functional and you might have more lucid memories of what the inflationary time was like. We all can see pictures of the gas lines. Hey, the gas lines are back. That's exciting. We can see, prices, where during the day, the grocery stores reset prices, sometimes once and twice a day, upward, not downward. No sales, guys. There aren't been any real sales because what's happening are retailers. I read that Walmart is, so other retailers like Target said, because of this economic slowdown or people are getting starting to hoard cash, they're not sure what's coming next, that they're starting to see a buildup of inventories in their stores. So what Target said they're going to do is they're going to reduce prices. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? And you should go to Target, buy things like toilet paper, buy things that you know for sure you're going to need in the future because you're going to be able to buy them, at a cheaper price by a substantial amount than what they'll cost in the future. That's kind of a smart thing for all of you to be doing. But what's Walmart doing? Walmart is actually taking things off shelves, putting them in their warehouses, and they're waiting for the prices of the wholesale prices that they'd have to pay. And they're anticipating that the wholesale prices will surpass the retail prices they're actually able to sell the products for. So if there was a can of tuna that they bought, last month, let's say, I have no idea how long cans of tuna last, right?
You're good.
And they bought it for $3 and they were going to sell it for $4. Well, in probably 90 days, 120 days, the wholesale cost of that can of tuna might be $5 and they can put it for sale for $7. All the while they've only got $3 in it. And that's what a lot of retailers are going to start doing. And that's going to do what? Increase inflation because it's going to drive prices up. It's going to create more scarcity. This whole cycle, there's no end to it. And you can game it out in your head. Even rising interest rates aren't slowing the economy down. They're going to have to raise interest rates to such a draconian level that it's going to cause a recession. Don't worry. I know what some of you are thinking. Oh my gosh, what do all these words mean? I've never experienced in my life before. Just remember, because you have a real estate license, you are smart enough to get a real estate license, you're going to be fine because there will always be people that want to buy and sell. The nature of how to do a transaction definitely changing. The nature, really, the mix of who those people will be who are buying and selling, definitely changing. They'll still be wholesalers. They'll still be flippers. They'll still be investors. All those types of things are going to still be in the market. The hard part is the right now part. Because right now, as we're transitioning from the old market to the new market, people are scared because they haven't experienced this before. You're probably feeling that way. Well, that's natural and it's normal, but where it's abnormal is if you stay in that scared state for too long. So here's a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Snap out of it. No longer feel the fear. Instead, replace it with knowledge because knowledge equals confidence. Ignorance equals fear. Your feeling of fear is coming from the ignorance, coming from the innate knowledge that you don't have what it takes to thrive, or rather survive, let alone thrive in this new market. And that's okay, right? But move past the fear because the fear causes you to do nothing. And again, this is the hard part because everyone can clearly remember, 6 long months ago when the market and the economy wasn't like this. It's the memories of what yesterday's pricing and what yesterday's economy was like are too vivid in all of our brains, but time will pass and then you will see people will start to adapt to the new reality. And you need to get to the place where you're going to have to be in a year to a year and a half anyway. Get there now because you'll have an advantage in the marketplace. Everyone else is, looking for a place to hide out. Don't hide out. Get into action. Realize that you are going to be able to, if you learn how to proactively lead generate. Yes, I'm talking about expireds and for sale by owners and all the other proactive sources of business. You will make a flippin' fortune during this transitionary time. How many of your competitors have, quotes around competitors, have been building their businesses based on passive lead generation, buying leads, building teams, building branding, doing their TikTok videos and all the rest of it? All of them. How many of them actually have sales skills? I would go with none of them. Have the sales skills. You will have an unfair advantage in the marketplace. Be excited, be motivated because of this market. Do not be fearful. Again, if you're feeling fear, you need to realize that is your intuition, if you want to call it that, your higher self, if you want to be woo-woo about it, telling you that you are not prepared. Get prepared and you'll be fine. And then get across, as Julie and I have been using as an analogy, the rope bridge, right? So if this is the first pod of ours you've listened to, we're all on a cliff, and we're looking to a cliff that's way, 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 way in the distant future. And the only way for us to get from here to there is crossing this, really scary, daunting, gnarly looking rope bridge. And we don't know which of these wood planks that we have to walk on are going to be, rotted out, that we're going to fall through and, all the way down to the bottom of the gorge. You guys get it. I'm talking about good old classic Indiana Jones type visualizations, hopefully what you're manifesting right now. Well, here's the thing. The reason that you're feeling nervous is because you know you have to cross this bridge. You don't know what steps to take. The reason you're feeling nervous is because you think you can maybe wait long enough where you are, and then maybe you won't necessarily have to cross the bridge. As long as you're alive, you're going to have to cross that bridge, because the ground you're standing on now, you aren't looking down, is starting to dissolve. That's what's happening. Is that vivid enough of an analogy for all of you? That's how urgent I want you to think of your current situation and get to the other side of that bridge as fast as possible. And pricing is going to be one of the secret sauces that once you guys master, you'll have an unfair advantage in the marketplace. So Julie, without any further delay, hopefully these guys are feeling motivated, and hopefully they're feeling, now it's your part to make them feel educated.
Hopefully, yes. Here's the education part. All right, so 10 simple steps to get great at pricing property. Today we're talking about something that you need to get great at, especially when you're listing property, but also when you're on the buyer side, so you can advise your buyers on what is actually appropriate to offer. The market shift, as Tim was just talking about, has moved pricing to the forefront of everyone's mind. Everything you talked about with regards to inflation had to do with pricing and the impact of pricing, wholesale pricing, retail pricing, shifting pricing. Houses are selling closer to list price, making the initial price more important than when everyone was offering massively over market. We're already seeing a surge in expireds, withdrawns, etc., indicating that aspirational pricing may be coming to an end. And Tim, I did listen to about 8 different proactive lead generation calls from a variety of different coaching clients, and the coaches review those all the time. And I'll tell you, one of the prevailing themes, and these were mostly expireds.
Let's take a step back. So what she's saying is when you're one of our coaching clients, you will then be able to you'll record your actual proactive lead generation calls. You can email those digital files to one of our coaches. The coach will then listen to it and frankly give you critiques and criticisms of what you can do to be more effective. But I'll give you a punchline on all of this. Just follow the script and you'll be right as rain. Go ahead.
Help. Well, so from the other side, the person that was being prospected, the prevailing thought was uncertainty and inaction. Like a lot of the expireds would say, well, the seller, I'm not sure what I should do. I mean, I thought it would sell right away. My neighbor's house 2 months ago sold right away for overlist. And I heard several times, this should be making people nervous and also bring the forefront to pricing. Several of them said, we hardly had a showing.
Well, so the sellers, like our dear listeners, are also experiencing the fear of crossing the rope bridge because they themselves have to get their butts to the other side before the ground disappears as well. Mm-hmm. You know, and then sure enough, you know what's happening that you don't necessarily see? There's a zombie horde that's planning on running up. You know, you're going to have all kinds of motivations. Guys, don't wait until you have to cross the bridge, because when you have to cross the bridge but you haven't actually essentially crossed the bridge with other people that know how to get to the other side, in other words, telling you what steps to step on, what boards to step on, you will fall through and you will not make it. Again, I'm being dramatic to make a point because we only have you guys for like a half hour a day. Point number 2.
Okay, point number 1. Getting great at pricing builds not only your competence, but also your confidence. So point number 1, practice comparable market analysis, CMAs, with your broker. Do one with your broker, having your broker show you how they do it, assuming they are a selling broker. Then do 3 on your own and ask your broker to check for accuracy. Did you arrive at the same price on the subject properties? Why or why not? So actually get some training on this. And there are some MLSs that do training on how to do a proper CMA. Well, that's what you did. When we sold real estate, you took an MLS class to learn how to do CMAs. But I'll suggest that you guys, some of you have never learned how to do this because you use the CMA software programs. The problem with that, even though they do a brilliant job with brilliant output, really very impressive. It looks pretty, is you can't explain it, and you're going to be caught flat-footed when you're competing with, frankly, one of our coaching clients who knows in Technicolor how to explain what the CMA actually means, and you're going to be like, look at my pretty graph, it's blue. You guys get it? You cannot take shortcuts. Quit looking for hacks. Yeah, and throwing a property on the market and letting the market, the buyers sell it for you, those days are coming to an end.
Completely.
So, point number 2, pay attention not just to sold comparables, but also pendings and actives. Sold comps are what actually happened. Pendings are reflecting current market conditions, and actives are still speculating. Which price ranges have the shortest and longest days on the market? We're already seeing Condos and luxury being hit first. The first-time buyer stuff seems to be pretty solid so far.
Well, so you're usually when in a slowdown, it's what Julie just said. You're going to see not ultra luxury usually is recession proof, frankly, but you're going to see luxury move up type homes. They're going to slow down. Then you're going to see vacation properties. You're going to see, how about this? All the people that bought all those VRBOs and they became VRBO gurus and started YouTube channels. All those properties that are highly leveraged are going, because what was the deal? You buy a VRBO, you then put as little money down as possible. You wait for it to appreciate, then you refinance it, and then you do it again and again and again and again. You create your own game of dominoes. Well, that is going to be coming to an end, because what's going to happen is the VRBO rental prices in some of these markets are going to decrease as more people basically are not able to get the properties rented, because people are going to start tightening up, and or the existing inventory of homes for sale that was just going to be a resale is going to become a rental because the seller wants to hold out. Again, we're in this transitionary time, and that's when people get very nervous, not knowing what to do. Remember what Julie Harris says: knowledge equals confidence, ignorance equals fear.
So point number 3, actually take an appraisal class. I know it can be mind-numbingly boring for some of you. I've taken many of them. But take an appraisal class when you need your qualifying education. Some states call it continuing ed or qualifying ed, when you need the hours. Actually take appraisal, because it's going to show you not just one way of pricing property. It's going to show you 5 or 6 different ways, which will absolutely come in handy for checking your pricing and being able to do it multiple different ways.
Now, I had an unfair advantage. When Julie and I would go on very competitive listings, we would go on them together. And whereas the ones that were not so competitive, we'd go on them individually. But on the more competitive listings, I had Julie Harris, who is very analytical, very precise, and has taken all those classes. And when it got to the point where we were presenting the CMA, Julie would take over the listing presentation. And if that seller was an engineer or somebody else who was analytical, instantly we'd have the listing, because they thought they'd found their soulmate, somebody that was equally as nerdy as they were, but about real estate. Because here's the reason why, because every other single agent that was walking in to use DISC was either expressive or a driver, and not somebody who was very focused on detail. So if you find yourself being an expressive or a driver like yours truly, be very careful that you do not assume that everyone's going to think or receive information like you. In stressful times like this, everybody becomes analytical. Sellers,
yeah,
everyone,
especially now. Yeah.
Right? Everyone wants the facts and the figures. Julie said something else earlier. She said, look for the pending comps. Call the active listings that have not yet closed listings agents and ask them. You'll have to sweet talk them. They're not going to tell you the exact pending price, but they'll probably, if you ask nicely, give you a range. So ask them what the range was. Say, Mr. Listing Agent, can you give me an idea of what that property went in contract for? Like, give or take $10,000. Some of them, new listing agents, will be like, oh, I can't believe you're asking me that. They're going to virtue signal some, righteousness of blah, 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 blah. Well, forget those. The rest of them, the experienced agents, they're going to say, well, it's close to asking. They might even say, yeah, within 1% of asking.
And you can say, was that a little bit over or a little bit under asking?
Exactly.
And you can ask about their showing activity. You can ask them how many contracts they were looking at, or maybe there was only one contract.
Will that give you an unfair advantage when it comes to actually putting the house for your listing for sale, when you're speaking to the seller about why they want to list with you? Well, how about this? Ask said listing agent of comp house that's in contract how many other offers they received, like Julie just said. Then get the names of the other buyer's agents who submitted the offers, and then actually call those buyer's agents up and say, look, if your buyer is still in the marketplace, I've got a property very similar to the one that your buyer missed out on that will probably be hitting the market in the next day or so or a week or so. Would you be interested in having first dibs at that house? Then when you go on the listing appointment, you can tell that seller, I've got a list of 5 agents right now with 5 great buyers who want to see this property immediately.
That's very shocking, Tim. You mean a listing agent being a listing agent having to call buyer's agents?
This is how you have to think. You have to think. You're going to have to be more urgent, more creative, and more competitive in a market like this, because it's not that difficult to set yourself apart from the hordes of agents, especially the unskilled agents, which is the hordes of them. It's not that difficult to set yourself apart, but you have to. If you think you're going to stroll into any kind of appointment with either a buyer or seller with the same approach that you have over the last 10 years, frankly, or even 15 years, and win, you will not. Things are going to change. I have never seen in the 30 years that Julie and I have been in real estate, almost, I've never seen a market change this meaningfully, this quick. Not even the housing crash.
Especially in this many different ways. Too.
Yes. Well, it's because it's
not just one thing.
Right. We're not just talking housing. We're talking an overall economic shift. And this is not going to be going away soon. This is going to be a long-term, think years cycle. And again, mentally and emotionally, wrap your mind around that where the prices of everything are inflating to are the new prices. They're not going to deflate again. Things are not like I read an article, Kias and Toyotas and normal vehicles are now selling for an average of 4 to 6% over list price. This is the new reality. Everything's settling to a higher price. Real estate, guess what, is also settling to a higher price, which means you're going to get a raise. And here's the other thing that's also fascinating. In a market like this, listeners, do commissions go up? Or do they go down? You are going to think if you're inexperienced, they go down, but you are thankfully incorrect. They go up. Buyer's agents during this last market, you guys have been being bludgeoned by the marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. Commissions going down, you having to chip in to get a deal together, all the rest of it. Well, guess what? That's all going to change. All these people that were fearful that buyer's agents will become relevant or irrelevant rather, that's all going away now. It's gone away already, really, in most markets, and you're going to start seeing builders paying over 2 or 3%.
Yes, I got an email from Lennar Homes in Texas, being that my license is in Texas, and it had a huge long list of multiple subdivisions with multiple homes, many of them already built, and the email's title was 100% of what you read listed below has a 3% commission.
And guess what? In 6 months, if that long, it's going to have a 4% commission.
And bonuses.
And bonuses. And a trip to Hawaii. And this is what happens. This is called market dynamics. And essentially a normal, this is how market forces react. Builders and resale listing agents are going to have to become more competitive. And one of the easy buttons after they have the house, condition wise and price wise, in the right position, then they're going to have to start offering above market commissions. And look, you can say, oh, that's not ethical. A buyer's agent's going to not want to have to sell a property. It's not going to sell a property to their buyer because they're getting paid more money. Look, you guys can, work your minds through that quagmire you want. And guess what? Here's a little secret. There's never been a house ever sold by an agent to a buyer that didn't want to buy it. So it does not really ultimately matter what the commission rate is, in the sense that a buyer's not going to buy a house from you just because you're getting paid more. That's not at all how it works.
Or because you're getting paid less either. It's a matter of supply and demand. If the buyer wants the house and the seller's selling the house, they will get together.
But if there's 15 houses for sale that are all good fits for that buyer, and that, 2 or 3 of them are paying a premium commission and the rest are not, well, it's human nature that you're going to show the higher commissioned listings, and it doesn't necessarily mean the buyer's going to like it, and you can't say or do anything to get a buyer to buy a house. Agents really don't sell real estate at the end of the day. Matter of fact, most times agents will talk buyers out of buying real estate because they're not professional. In a market like this, guys, the number one thing is to really be an absolute pricing expert on the buyer side and on the listing side. Next point, Julie.
Point number 4, preview homes that are listed in every price range. See 5 homes a day, 5 days a week for 2 weeks. Start in the bottom of your market. What do you get for the money if you're a first-time home buyer? And then move up price ranges all the way into the luxury end of the spectrum. There is a well-known fact amongst coaches and brokers that most agents are only comfortable talking to prospects and clients that are in the same price range as the neighborhood they live in or less.
Now, I want to preface what Julie's saying. Previewing homes in general is an obscene waste of time. But if you're previewing homes for the sake of updating your market knowledge, it's great. But I'll suggest this. If we're personally coaching you, here's what we tell you to do. Yeah, pricing. We would tell you to preview homes when you have buyers who are looking in those price ranges, right? Preview homes with the idea that you're going to sell a house, opposed to just previewing homes just for going out there. And don't confuse a preview of a home for actually doing real work, because at the end of the day, it's not. But in a transitioning market like this, it is a good idea. For example, in some markets, the local board of realtors will have a new listings tour. You might not even know about it. Find out if there is one of those going on, and then attend that just so you can see what direction the pricing is going. compared to the condition and location, right? You might see macro trends that are forming that you might not have been aware of in upper end price ranges that could have you see upper end price ranges, for example, that where the appreciation, the inflation isn't happening at the same clip. That's most likely going to have an adverse effect in terms of inflation or appreciation on lower price real estate as well. That was what Julie's point was.
Yes. Okay.
By the way, I want to let all of you guys know, the hundreds of you that are joining Premier Coaching right now, all of the notes for all of our podcasts and more, obviously, is available to you right now in Premier Coaching. Premier Coaching is the next natural, easy step for all of you to get to the other side of that rope bridge. And you need to do it urgently. We will tell you which boards to step on and which boards not to step on. But get to the other side before everyone else even sees the bridge in their horizon, right? Absolutely, positively take action on this. Premier Coaching is free for the first 30 days. And we're not holding anything back. That includes a daily semi-private coaching session with one of our Harris certified coaches. That includes everything we talk about, but also our real estate treasure map. Like, for us to rattle off all the things that you get as far as Premier Coaching would take probably a good 10 or 15 minutes. Text the word Premier to 47372, text the word Premier to 47372, or just go to members.timandjulieharris.com, members.timandjulieharris.com. You'll see a website, and on the website, it's going to show you all the things that you get when you join Premier Coaching. Remember, guys, this is free. You can join now. It takes about 22 seconds. Yes, I've timed it to join Premier Coaching. This is the next natural step for all of you who are planning on being real estate in 6 months, let alone 6 years. Learn what this market demands before you're back essentially in a corner on your heels, losing deals, losing money, losing your mind because you're so full of fear. This will get you to the other side. Knowledge equals confidence. Ignorance equals fear. If you're feeling any fear and doubt, get the knowledge and you will be unbelievably excited and motivated because of this market. Text the word Premier to 47372 or just go to members.timandjulieharris.com.
Okay, so point number 5, and again, we're talking about pricing. Preview new construction in different areas and different price ranges. We call this who's building what, where, for how much. Get to know the new build reps and the builders. And there's a whole section in Premier Coaching about the underlying point because that's actually a spoke of creating new leads.
We tell you guys how to generate tons and tons of leads off basically becoming new build reps buddies. And there's a whole section that Julie just rattled off.
But we won't do that on this call.
We won't do, but we have done past podcasts, but it's waiting for you on Premier Coaching. Remember, text the word Premier to 47372, and that'll text you back a link that you can just join. Takes 22 seconds, and remember, message and data rates may apply. I'm going to get to point number 6 relatively quick. Point number 6, preview the competition prior to all listing presentations. This is especially true in this transitioning market. You want to go to see what your house is competing against. The listing, the pictures as it shows in the MLS is not going to be enough. And you are going to run into situations where you're going to go on a listing presentation. You're not going to have previewed. You're not going to have the information on the house. The seller's going to know more about the comps that you're using to comp their house. Yep. You won't get the listing because you will be ill prepared because you were arrogantly assuming that you could just basically ride on the wave that no longer exists of a seller's market. Point number 7, Julie.
Go to open houses on the weekend, especially on behalf of your active buyers, and get to know different areas. So the point with this is there are instances where the same home or the same model basically can sell for a different price in different neighborhoods. So for example, places like Columbus, where there's lots of builders, you can have the exact model that's in Dublin that will sell for $50,000 more than if it's over in Galloway. So you need to be doing that kind of previewing.
The micro market conditions, local employment, new construction that's going to be competing against old construction. These things are all relevant. Do you notice that all of the things that we're talking to you guys about require proactive activity, require you becoming the professional that in your heart and soul you've always wanted to be seen as? This is how you have that. This is what it takes. It's not just about the passive lead generation fun stuff, trying to look famous or trying to look successful when you've frankly not earned the right to be successful yet. This is how you get on the other side of that. This is how you make people want to do business with you. You're not trying to convince them you're successful from your branding and your TikTok videos. You are successful because you are making money from having helped people in a market like this. Point number 8, watch your hot sheets from your MLS every day. If you don't know what a hot sheet is, that's basically a summary of all the activity that's happening in the MLS, new listings, new pendings, price reductions, which is really important, days in the market, all that stuff. Watch for the trends that are happening. There are a lot of cool software programs that MLS will churn out where they'll tell you the trends. Save that information. Show it to your prospective real estate clients, sellers, and buyers. Point number 9, Julie.
Point number 9, befriend an appraiser or more than one so that you can call them and check your comps on unusual properties or when you lack confidence. Not all homes even have obvious comparables. You might have something where you don't have any comps for the past 6 months. You don't know where to start and where to end. Call your appraiser friend and say, look, I don't have any comps. What would you do? And they're probably going to talk about cost per square foot, or they're going to give you a different neighborhood and give you some adjustments to use those comps anyway. You need to have somebody who does this for a living all the time as your backup brain.
And when the appraisers call you asking you for comps of your recently pending houses for the sake of refinances, return the calls. Be friends. Be nice to them. We always were. And I'll tell you something else that was magical that happened. Appraisers will oftentimes come in contact with people that are thinking about putting their houses for sale.
Yep.
So they too will become great sources of listing referrals. And point number 10, Julie.
Point number 10 is my favorite. Ask for help from our Harris certified coaches. That is what we're all here for. All you have to do is go to your daily semi-private coaching session and say help.
There is no daily semi-private coaching session if they're not Premier Coaching clients.
Well, it was implied.
Yes, right. So become a Premier Coaching client. Text the word Premier to 47372 or go to members.timandjulieharris.com. There is no excuse for you not to join Premier Coaching unless you're not planning on being in the business. That's really your only excuse. But even then, it's free. So go ahead and join. Text the word Premier to 47372. Text the word Premier to 47372. Or simply go to members.timandjulieharris.com. Remember, if you're texting, message and data rates may apply. Guys, listen, move fast, think faster. Knowledge equals confidence, ignorance equals fear. You are going to be more successful, have more things in your life that you love, have better experiences, be the leader you've always wanted to be, not just someone that's acting like a leader, because of this market when you have the knowledge, when you have the skills. You're going to be walking through the grocery store or Starbucks, and people are going to see you as successful because they know you by reputation from actually having solved other people's problems. That is the direction that all of you should be tuning your frequency towards. There's a little woo-woo for you, so that you indeed can finally become the real estate professional that hopefully you'll agree you are destined to be. Do not be intimidated by this market. Do not be fearful. Take actions. We've given you lots of direction. Thank you for continuing to make our podcast the number one listened to daily downloaded podcast for real estate professionals in the United States. Please help to support our, I would say, rapidly growing YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yes, and we're, Julie, you're making lots of really, I would call them audacious, embarrassing, and...
You mean the pictures?
Yes, the pictures.
Yes.
Yes, over on YouTube, our thumbnails, we're having probably too much fun.
It could be.
Making fools of ourselves, really.
Overly expressive, perhaps.
Yes, exactly.
But hopefully making the point at the same time.
Yes, so thank you guys. And your homework is obviously to join Premier Coaching and share this podcast with as many different agents. Well, look, share this podcast with the agents that you want to stay in the business. The rest of them, well, don't share it with them, right?
That's right.
You guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.